The last time you got sick, you probably knew what to do. You searched your symptoms. You took something from the medicine cabinet. Maybe you called a doctor. Maybe you just lay on the couch for 3 miserable days, waiting for your body to fix itself. But even then, you had one thing most humans in history never had: an explanation. You knew sickness had a name. You knew there might be medicine for it. You knew your body was fighting something. For most of human history, people had none of that. No diagnosis, no antibiotics, no vaccines, no hospitals, no medicine cabinet, no idea that invisible organisms could enter the body and turn it against itself. There was only pain, fever, weakness, swelling, bleeding, confusion, and the terrifying feeling that something inside you had gone wrong for no visible reason. And yet, humans survived. They raised children. They cared for the injured. They built families, tribes, villages, and eventually, civilizations. So what did ancient humans actually do when they got sick? The answer is stranger, more desperate, more creative, and far more human than most people imagine. For the first 200,000 years of our existence, modern medicine did not exist. Humans had no understanding of bacteria, no understanding of viruses, no understanding of parasites, no microscopes, no germ theory, no way to see the enemies that were killing them. From their point of view, illness looked almost supernatural. A person could be healthy one day and burning with fever the next. There might be no wound, no bite, no broken bone, no predator, no obvious cause. The body simply began to fail from the inside. So ancient people explained sickness in the only way that made sense to them. The Sumerians believed illness could be caused by demons. Ancient Egyptians often connected sickness to punishment from the gods. Indigenous cultures across the world developed their own explanations, but many shared a similar idea. The body was a vessel. Sickness was an invasion. Healing meant removing whatever had entered. At first, that sounds primitive, but the strange part is this. Their explanation was wrong, but their instinct was not completely wrong. They believed something invisible had entered the body. They did not know it was bacteria. They did not know it was a virus. They did not know it was a parasite. But they understood that illness could come from something unseen. It would take humans hundreds of thousands of years to discover what those invisible enemies actually were. But before they had science, they had imagination. They had ritual. They had memory. And they had each other. The earliest healers were not doctors in the modern sense. They were shamans, ritual specialists, elders, and people believed to have contact with the forces behind sickness. They tried to speak to whatever power had entered the body. They tried to drive it out. They tried to bargain with it. They tried to pull the sick person back from whatever world they seemed to be slipping into. And even before medicine existed, there is evidence that humans were already caring for the weak and injured. Archaeological remains going back tens of thousands of years show people who survived serious injuries and disabilities that should have made life almost impossible alone. Crushed bones, missing limbs, severe conditions, injuries that would have stopped someone from hunting, gathering, walking properly, or protecting themselves. And yet, many of those bones healed. That means those people did not die immediately. They lived long enough for the body to repair itself. Someone must have fed them. Someone must have protected them. Someone must have kept them warm. Someone must have helped them survive. Before hospitals, before written medicine, before anyone understood anatomy, humans were already doing one of the most important things medicine has ever done. They were refusing to abandon the sick. If you were born 40,000 years ago and became too injured to hunt, would your group leave you behind? Or would someone choose to keep you alive? That question may be one of the oldest tests of what makes us human. Then there was one of the oldest known surgical procedures in the world: trepanation, drilling or scraping a hole into the skull. We have skulls from around 10,000 years ago, with clean, deliberate openings cut through the bone. And the most shocking part is not that ancient people did it. The most shocking part is that some patients survived. The bone around the holes shows healing. That means someone cut into a human skull with a stone tool, and the person lived long enough afterward for the bone to begin growing back. Think about how impossible that sounds. No anesthesia as we know it. No antiseptics. No modern surgical tools. No antibiotics if infection started. And still someone tried it. We do not know exactly why they performed trepanation. One common theory is that they believed something harmful was trapped inside the head and needed to be released. Maybe a spirit. Maybe pressure, maybe pain, maybe something they could not name. They did not understand neuroscience. They did not understand infection. They did not understand the brain, the way we do now. But they understood suffering, and they were desperate enough to experiment at the edge of death. That is what ancient humans did when sickness came. They tried, even when they barely understood what they were fighting. But healing was not only spiritual, not even close. While shamans performed rituals, while people prayed, while skulls were opened in desperate attempts to cure suffering, another kind of medicine was quietly developing. Observation, memory, experience. Humans began noticing that some plants changed what happened inside the sick body. Some reduced pain, some lowered fever, some helped wounds heal, some calmed the stomach, some helped with infection, some made breathing easier, some did nothing, some made things worse. And generation after generation, people remembered. They passed that knowledge forward, not through laboratories, not through textbooks, but through survival. One of the most important examples is willow bark. Ancient Egyptian medical texts from around 1500 BCE recommended willow for pain and fever. Today, we know why it worked. Willow bark contains salicin, which the body can convert into salicylic acid. That compound is closely related to what eventually became aspirin. Ancient people did not know the chemistry. They did not know molecules. They did not know active compounds. They only knew that when people were in pain or burning with fever, willow could help. So they used it. They remembered it. They taught it. And thousands of years later, modern science extracted, refined, and transformed that ancient knowledge into tablets sold in pharmacies around the world. The white pill may be modern, but the instinct behind it is ancient. Turmeric, garlic, honey, ginger, echinacea. Plants like these have long histories of medical use across different cultures. Ancient humans were not just guessing randomly. They were watching outcomes. They were comparing results. They were remembering what helped. They were building a medical memory bank, one illness at a time. If a plant lowered a fever once, people remembered. If it helped a wound heal, people remembered. If it calmed pain, people remembered. If it killed someone, they remembered that too. That is how medicine began. Not as a science, but as a long chain of human beings paying attention. But this is where the story becomes more complicated. Because not everything ancient humans did actually worked. Some remedies were useless. Some rituals changed nothing. Some treatments may have made things worse. And yet, even those failures reveal something important about us. When a fever would not break, when the plants failed, when pain did not stop, when the sick person kept getting weaker, people often turned to ritual, repetition, and community. They gathered around the sick. They sang. They prayed. They chanted. They stayed awake through the night. They touched the person. They spoke to them. They tried to make them feel protected. They refused to let them suffer alone. And without understanding the science, they may have been affecting the body in real ways. Social support can lower stress hormones. Feeling cared for can reduce pain. The belief that help is coming can change how the body responds to suffering. The placebo effect is not imaginary. It is real. It is measurable. It has been documented again and again. A person's belief, expectation, and emotional state can produce biological changes inside the body. Ancient humans did not know the word placebo. They did not know about stress hormones. They did not know about the nervous system in the modern scientific sense. But they had discovered ways to trigger the body's healing systems through presence, ritual, attention, and care. Sometimes healing came from medicine. Sometimes it came from plants. Sometimes it came from touch. Sometimes it came from the simple fact that someone stayed beside you when you were afraid. Have you ever noticed how sickness feels worse when you are completely alone? Ancient humans noticed that too. They just explained it in the language of spirits, gods, prayers, and rituals. And the truth is, modern medicine never fully replaced this part of healing. Modern medicine is extraordinary. Antibiotics, vaccines, surgery, anesthesia, blood tests, scans, machines that can see inside the body without opening it. Treatments that would have looked like miracles to almost every human who lived before the 20th century. But even with all of that, care still matters. Research consistently shows that patients who feel genuinely listened to and cared for often do better than those who receive treatment but feel ignored, rushed, or unseen. Doctors who spend more time with patients often get better outcomes, not only because of the medicine they prescribe, but because of the trust, attention, and reassurance around the treatment. Healing was never only about the substance entering the body, it was also about the world surrounding the sick person. Ancient humans understood this in their own way. Under all the rituals, herbs, chants, skull surgeries, prayers, and desperate experiments was one simple idea. They refused to do nothing. For 300,000 years, the human response to illness was not surrender. It was resistance. A child had a fever. Someone tried something. A hunter broke a bone. Someone set it. A wound became infected. Someone cleaned it, covered it, prayed over it, packed it with plants, or stayed beside the person through the night. A mother struggled in childbirth. People gathered. A tooth became infected. Someone attempted to pull it, cut it, burn it, numb it, or treat it with whatever knowledge they had. Some methods were wrong, some were dangerous, some were based on fear, some were based on misunderstanding. But the impulse behind them mattered. The refusal to accept that a human being should simply die from something invisible and unexplained. That impulse is the reason medicine exists at all. Think about what your ancestors survived without any of the things you depend on today. No antibiotics, no vaccines, no sterile operating rooms, no emergency departments, no painkillers in a cabinet, no clean surgical instruments, no understanding of germs. A small cut could become infected and kill you. A bad tooth could become a death sentence. Childbirth was terrifyingly dangerous. Water from the wrong place could fill the body with parasites or disease. Measles could tear through communities. Smallpox could destroy entire populations. Cholera could kill with terrifying speed. The flu alone wiped out millions. For most of history, humans lived in a world where ordinary sickness could become fatal. And still, people kept trying. They experimented. They observed. They remembered. They failed. They tried again. They carried plant knowledge across generations. They developed rituals of care. They treated wounds. They supported the injured. They protected those who could not protect themselves. They fought enemies they could not see. And humanity did not even discover microscopic life until the 1670s, when Antony van Leeuwenhoek looked through a microscope and saw tiny living organisms for the first time. Before that moment, humans had spent hundreds of thousands of years battling invisible enemies with no idea what those enemies actually were. They were fighting shadows. And still they fought. So the next time you get sick and reach for a tablet, call a doctor, search a symptom, or lie under a blanket waiting to recover, remember what came before that moment. Behind every medicine cabinet is a cave. Behind every hospital is a healer. Behind every pill is a plant someone once noticed. Behind every surgery is a person who once dared to cut bone with stone. Behind every diagnosis is a long history of humans refusing to let suffering remain unexplained. Ancient medicine was often wrong, but it was not meaningless. It was the beginning of the oldest human promise. If you are sick, we will try to help you. And if all those people had not kept trying, generation after generation, without microscopes, without hospitals, without answers, then maybe none of us would be here today. Because medicine did not begin when humans finally understood disease. It began the first time one human saw another, in pain, and decided not to walk away.